Witches Hill.
Welcome back to Witches Hill.
I'm Pat.
I'm Tim.
And today we're going to be talking about a very serious topic, and that is, sadly, drug overdoses.
Yes.
Yes, but before we get into that, if you have any inquiries or would like to send us any fun fan art, you can do that at witcheshillradio@gmail.com.
And why not join us on a live episode? Occasionally we go on Facebook Live, and we just like to record our episodes, like the one last week.
Yes.
Yeah, that was done live, and we had a lot of people join in and
hell yeah.
Voice their opinions.
Oh, definitely.
And you could do that at facebook.com/Witches Hill Radio.
Good job.
I remembered it.
You looked up is this right?
Am I about to butcher this?
You could also help us figure out some of the ghostly activities that we do late at night.
Yes.
Yes, I was going to say in the witching hour, but I'm just I hesitated saying it. It was weird. Anyway.
Very cliche.
Anywho. Cue a witch's laugh. Don't. I'm just being stupid.
Okay. Fair.
But, yeah, there's a reason why we're going to be talking about these drug overdoses today, is because a lot of the people that we know and cared for are dead because of an overdose.
And it's I mean, honestly, you think about the heroin epidemic going on right now.
Yeah.
That's been going on. That's fucking horrifying.
Yeah, because it's so real and there's nothing you can do about it. Even if somebody was next to you and they just did something, they shot up, they smoked crack or whatever, next thing you know they're overdosing. There's nothing you can really do in certain cases.
Yep.
And I don't know, it's situational, I guess. But we're going to talk today, I guess, starting off with heroin.
Okay.
You know?
I mean, it's kind of the big one.
Yeah. So heroin is a hell of a drug. Many of our friends have sadly been introduced to it, and in turn it brought them to death's door. It's sold as a powder and typically white or brown, though it can be purchased as a black tar-like substance. Apparently, users mix it with water before injecting it, due to the fact that it amplifies the high and it works immediately. Other than injecting it, it can also be snorted or smoked. What happens, though? This drug binds to your brain's opioid receptors, much like painkillers do. And yes, with that said, you don't feel any pain and are overcome by a rush of euphoria created by dopamine. When heroin enters your system, it turns into morphine, which has a similar structure to natural endorphins. The overdose: when you take too much heroin, it affects your body in multiple ways. The one big one is the fact that it affects your respiratory and central nervous system. It slows your breathing, and when you OD, it essentially means your body has forgotten how to breathe on its own. So essentially you just fall asleep and forget to breathe.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's what happens if people just pass away in their sleep, they just forget to breathe, the sleep apnea thing.
Okay.
I don't know if that kind of falls along the same thing. Not saying that it's an overdose, but just curious. Another reason this will kill you is the fact that you could experience an arrhythmia, which means your heart begins at an irregular beat cycle. This is when your heart is unable to pump blood efficiently. This can have lasting effects to your brain and organs, granted you survive the overdose. And there are warning signs to an OD. Depressed or slow breathing, a weak pulse, pinpoint pupils, disorientation, extreme drowsiness, continuing to lose consciousness, and having a blue tint to your lips or nails. Yeah.
That blue tint would be absolutely terrifying.
Well, that's the whole fucking blood just not moving. Everything's just going cold and dying off. That's fucking terrifying, dude. I would never want to see that.
Yeah.
And I hope anybody's listening that you haven't experienced that as well. If you have, well, damn, dude. Props to you for bearing through that. If you or someone is on heroin and are trying to get off of it, you need to stay away from mixing the drug with others, including alcohol and benzodiazepines. Sadly, many times an overdose occurs when the person has had time to binge their system of the drug, then relapses. They think they can still do as much as they had prior to the cleansing, which, without taking into considering their tolerance had decreased, will lead to doing too much and unfortunately end their life.
So, right after someone gets out of rehab is kind of like the most dangerous point of it.
It's definitely how it seems.
Yeah.
It's just the urge to go back and get to that feeling again.
Without really considering the ramifications of that, I guess.
Well, a lot of times, from what I hear, it's not so much that you're thinking about that. They just want to get back onto Cloud 9 again.
Okay.
It's just all about that feeling. They're chasing the high. Chasing the dragon, you know?
Did you just reference South Park?
No, that's literally what it's called. South Park was knocking off of that because of the whole rocker lifestyle and people abusing drugs like that.
Yeah.
Which they did an amazing job of pointing that out.
Yeah.
Because it is all too real, especially in the music scene.
Yeah.
The drug enters the body and travels through your synapses, through the heart and into your lungs, where the blood gets flushed with oxygen before getting drawn back into the heart once again. Now it is pushed out to the rest of the body, where it plunges into the system of the opioid receptors all over your body. When it reaches your brain, you get very, 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 very overwhelmingly happy. It then enters a section of the brain called the nucleus accumbens, where the happiness hormone dopamine is produced. There, the drug lashes onto GABAergic neurons. GABA neurons. Oh, we're going to call them GABA neurons. You can tell I'm not a science. A science? Yeah.
Clearly.
I was going to say, I didn't go to science school, but I am not a science. Finger guns and all.
Yeah, you could say that again.
Anyway, GABA, they make sure our dopamine doesn't overflow and kind of acts almost like a doorway, which can cause agitation and paranoia. Opioid molecules let dopamine spill over into the bloodstream, creating a feeling of bliss way beyond our GABA cells would normally allow us to experience.
Okay.
So it's just amplifying your high. At this point, amplifying your natural high, I guess. I don't know. At this point, you're destined to pass out, coming and going. So you're losing the consciousness part, right?
Okay.
Your breathing begins to slow down. The opioid works on the systems that control both sleep and breathing. At the base of your brain lies a respiratory control center that drives your breathing, reacting to the level of carbon dioxide and oxygen in your blood, which causes you to breathe. During an overdose, the slowed breathing that occurs with the opioid ingestion of any kind becomes dangerously slow. Heart rate begins to slow down, leading to some sudden cardiac arrest incidents. Sudden cardiac arrest because not enough blood flow, everything slows down and starts shutting off.
Shit.
Yeah. With no oxygen going to your brain will receive damage after 4 minutes of oxygen loss. After that, you actually get permanent brain damage.
Oh, shit.
Granted that you survive. CPR can help prevent this from happening, but you also need to make sure that emergency personnel are coming.
Yeah.
And then there's the all too well-known foaming at the mouth syndrome, which I was telling you before we started recording that doctors have no idea where this came from, at least from the sources that I gathered.
Yeah, this is fucking a terrifying thought.
Yeah. This is all about fluid leaking into the air spaces of the lung. This is called non-cardiogenic pulmonary edema, meaning it's not caused by fluid backup from a failing heart, and doctors are still unsure of the exact mechanism behind this event. That's fucking terrifying.
Yeah. So you start foaming at the mouth, and they don't know what's making that, I guess?
Yeah.
That's fucked. That's really fucked.
Granted, that's not fluid from the lung, but that's just terrifying regardless, whether you're seeing that or experiencing that.
Yeah.
Beware that the user can also choke to death on their own vomit and bodily fluids, so make sure that their head is tilted slightly so that way they can expel whatever is coming up. Make sure they're not just drowning, because that's wrong.
It's how I know a lot of the big-time musicians from the 60s died.
Mm-hmm. Laying on their backs and choking on their own vomit.
Yep.
Didn't Hendrix die that way?
I believe so.
However, if you do survive, you may be paralyzed for life and unable to speak. Kind of makes you think twice about doing any of that.
Yeah, I'll say.
However, let's say, for instance, you walk in on someone actually ODing, God forbid. There are about 3 things you could do. 1, call emergency services. 2, if you're trained in the rescue breathing technique, do this until services arrive. And 3, if you have naloxone, give it to the person in question, as it is an opioid antagonist that reverses the effects in the body. Or Narcan. Sometimes overdose patients have to be given multiple treatments of Narcan, depending on the amount of opioids in their system. Narcan can always be attempted for revival if the patient is still alive. Given through an IV, Narcan works in seconds. Given through a shot or with nasal spray within minutes, and Narcan can move into the receptors of the brain where the opioid is stuck, knocks the opioid molecules off the receptor and replaces them. The opioid is then metabolized in the body. Narcan can generally has no side effects, and what I just read is found on Vice.com.
Okay.
Yeah, and wow, for some reason I could not keep saying opioid. Opioid. Like, I kept stopping. I'm like, what's this word? I've never seen this before.
I just kind of say it over and over again, but it's new.
My brain just... It's like, don't add that to the brain dictionary. Don't. Opioid? Anyway, people who have overdosed on heroin can go into full immediate withdrawal after the Narcan dosing. So doctors will typically attempt to give a small and repeated doses of Narcan to avoid a patient waking and immediately leaving the hospital in search for more. So it's basically it's like, oh man, you survived that. Man, that was close. Okay, can I go get more? You know, there are cases that are like that, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
It's very fucking unfortunate. Now, heroin withdrawal.
Honestly, just all I can picture about it is...
Trainspotting?
The scene from Trainspotting.
Yeah, same. Well, this occurs when the user has physical dependence on the drug and has begun purging their system of the drug. Often, almost always, this throws the body into a type of shock that will give the user symptoms of illness and discontent. The withdrawals from heroin are not always deadly, but it has been noted that the drug is so powerful that without it, it can lead users to committing suicide. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
It's all of this is really just dark and down, you know, like really brings everything kind of back to earth.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't about monsters. It's not about things hiding underneath your bed. It's about for those fucking assholes hanging out at clubs and dark alleyways slinging shit. The real monsters out there, I guess.
Yeah.
Roughly 115 deaths from overdoses happen per day.
Damn.
Yeah. That's unbelievable. As of 2016, 63,600 people died from an overdose in that year alone. That's so many fucking lives lost to drugs.
Yep.
But it's not always just the typical drugs that you're thinking about. Alcohol addiction. That's another thing that we're going to be talking about, because that's a huge fucking problem.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I would say that's more widespread around everywhere than just drugs and addiction itself. I mean, alcoholics, that's an addiction.
Yep.
You know, you're dependent on the alcohol. This one does kind of hit home around, like, the areas that we grew up and just, like, hung out as with kids. Because I know a lot of my friends not all of them had the greatest home life.
Yep.
You know, I've tried helping them out a few times. Yeah, it's just unfortunate events that befall certain people and people become victims. There's not a shortage of alcoholic stories and tragedies out there, which is another reason we added to this list. The alcohol overdose. When you drink more alcohol than the body can safely process, well, that's when you overdose. The limit the body can process is around 1 unit per alcohol per hour. To give you a kind of a clearer view of this, that's around 1 shot, a half pint of beer, or a third of a glass of wine.
Wait, an hour?
What?
An hour is what you're saying?
Yeah. It can process around 1 unit of pure alcohol per hour. I think I said per. 1 unit of per alcohol. Yeah, I meant pure alcohol per hour. But that's around 1 shot, a half pint of beer, or a third of a glass of wine. That's not all that much, really. If you drink more than that, in the time given, you're opening yourself up to alcohol poisoning due to the fact that your body cannot process it all. But no, I know. I'm right there with you. Just like, oh, fuck, my poor liver. But also, that's how you get drunk. It's just
Exactly.
people overdo it way too much.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I had alcohol poisoning before.
I don't think I have.
I had it once, and it was horrible. It was fucking horrible. But that's because of my own dumbass decisions. I did 15 shots in like 4 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I'm not proud of it. I'm just glad I'm alive. Because I think they said like 17 shots can kill you.
Really?
Yeah. Like if you just did them straight, and like I was drinking absolute vodka.
Oh.
No, I know.
Oh.
It was not a wise decision, nor was I, you know.
We all
smart.
make stupid decisions at that age.
Yes. Undisclosed age, let's just say that. Symptoms of ODing. Mental confusion, vomiting, seizures, slow breathing, which is fewer than 8 breaths per minute, irregular breathing, which is 10 seconds or more between breaths, hypothermia, which will give you bluish skin and paleness, slowing down of breathing, heart rate, and gag reflex, cardiac arrest due to hypothermia, and seizures due to low blood sugar levels. And unfortunately, I know somebody whose mom actually had a seizure in her car because she hadn't had a drink in about like 6 hours.
That's insane.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, but she was chilling in what it was called, Corvette. She had like this blue Corvette, right?
Yeah.
So she was sitting in her car. I don't know where she was going, but all of a sudden you start hearing the fucking engine start revving, just like nothing. So look outside, and she's just fucking convulsing in the car. They go out there. Her foot is on the fucking gas pedal. She's just lucky that she was in park.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
She would have crashed into something, and she could have been dead.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It's completely insane. Now, moving on to stimulant overdoses.
Stimulant?
Yes. This has to do with meth and cocaine. This works on your central nervous system, but the opposite way of the opioids. This raises the heart rate, blood pressure, and body temp and breathing. An overdose occurs when the CNS, which is the central nervous system, is overworked and starts breaking down. Symptoms: jerking or rigid limbs, rapidly increasing body temperature or sudden onset of a high fever, rapidly increasing pulse, loss of consciousness or being in and out of consciousness, seizures or convulsions, chest pains, severe headaches, excessive sweating, irritability and or agitation, disorientation or mental confusion, severe hypertension, delirium, stroke, cardiac arrest, cardiovascular collapse, and irregular or shallow breathing. Unfortunately, the FDA has no approved treatment for the stimulant overdose. There are, however, medications that can help stabilize and reduce symptoms like blood pressure, pulse, and body temperature. The most important thing you can do is get that person in question to the ER pronto. Now, we are essentially drawing to a close of this episode, but like I said at the beginning, we knew a lot of people who had died because of drugs, or rather fucked up their life because of drugs.
Yep.
I'm going to tell a little bit about some of the incidents that happened to these people, obviously changing names. We'll call this one Mitchell.
Tell us about Mitchell.
Unfortunately, Mitchell was killed due to a heroin overdose. This happened a week after he contacted me. He was soliciting himself in order to get heroin.
Wow.
It got to that point. And I knew him through a bunch of different people. Never really talked to him myself, but it's because I was always here or there. I was kind of a social butterfly with different groups and stuff.
Yeah.
And he was a good kid from everything that I knew about him. Like, he was an activist for LGBT. He was really good in his academics, very friendly to everybody, but just ended up falling in with the wrong types of people.
Oh.
And unfortunately, it cost him his life. That's not to say for this next person, though. Let's call her Bridget. No, I actually don't even know a Bridget, but
Okay.
Let's just call this person Bridget. This person was... No one really knew that she had an addiction. I didn't even know. And we were hanging out one day and randomly hit me up as she was coming back from the city. And I wasn't thinking too much of it because I know a lot of people just go to the city, just they have friends, they have family out there for whatever fucking reason. Going to a concert, it's not unheard of, obviously.
Yeah.
And it's an easy train trip, easy drive, for the most part. So I'm not thinking two things of it. Next thing you know, she gets over, and I'm just chilling, watching a movie or playing a game. I don't remember what I was doing, but I was distracted from her. And next thing you know, I start hearing like this tapping noise coming from behind me, and like I wasn't really thinking of anything of it. And next thing you know, I hear, and I just stopped because I know that noise all too well from many people that I know. And so I turn around, and I see her with a rolled up dollar bill or some type of money.
Okay.
And I'm just like, wait, did you just do coke off my fucking dresser? And then I realized it's brown.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not that's some... Oh, are you doing cocoa powder there?
Oh, you got some Cocoa Puffs. Yeah, well, apparently she crushed up those Cocoa Puffs and snorted it.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, so...
Riding that chocolate.
Yeah, Bridget got really heavily into this stuff. Well, unfortunately for her, maybe about a month later, completely lose contact with her. And I'm like, okay. Like, all right, whatever. Never responded to some of my texts like, hey, you want to chill, do whatever, blah, blah, blah. Found out that she got busted.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, this person got busted with a lot of pills.
Okay.
Ecstasy.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah, things got pretty bad. But as far as I know, she got better. I kind of lost contact, both on my end from pulling back and from her just kind of like being distant. So I don't know how everything worked out, but
hopefully it worked out.
I mean, I was trying to help as much as I could, but a lot of people
helpful.
Avoid help in those certain situations.
Yeah.
But like I said, I don't know everything. I'm not going to speak for this Bridget, but her friend, which we'll call Sally. Sally would defend heroin, not the addicts, but the dealers.
Which is just mind-boggling.
Like, I can understand defending the addict. I get it. Like, sometimes you just find yourself, like, just what happened to Mitchell. It's situational, Sometimes you don't mean to do certain things. And unfortunately for people, it just hits them the right way. Well, I think this hit really hard with the Sally person. Because she was defending certain people that have sold heroin to other people, and the heroin that they sold killed people. And it was noted. And they were still saying, like, oh, this person's a good person. It's like, they may have been a good person, but they were fucking dealing drugs that were killing people.
Knowingly.
Yes, and even after that person died, they continued to sell and go on the run. That is not a good person.
No.
That is fucked.
At that point, you kind of enter the realm of fuckbaggery.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, you can't say that. That's so mean. You don't know that person's story. It's like, dude, they fucking killed somebody. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
If a killer comes up to you and says, hey, I don't have any ammo for my fucking gun, but you got a bullet, can I have that so I can shoot this person? You give that person a bullet, you're just as easily to blame.
Yeah.
It's just how it is. I don't mean to go on this whole fucking lecture type thing, but a lot of people we know are dead or addicted and just fucking going into a fucking hole. This kid that I knew from when I was like 11 years old, whenever GTA 3 came out is around the time I met him.
Okay. So
I know this
long fucking time.
Yes, because I still remember him spilling salsa all over my cheat codes and Game Informer. I got mad.
That was before we had them memorized.
Yeah. You had to get it from a book. But no, we were good friends. And I'm going to call him Dandy.
Dandy.
Yeah. He was dandy. And that, unfortunately, very unfortunately, the deal that life dealt him was not even near good.
Okay.
Just home life was bad, and part of his addiction stemmed from his home life. It cost him his life. And this was just within the past few years. He was apparently found dead, but I've heard some other things saying that people saw him ODing and he essentially choked to death.
So it was kind of like a Breaking Bad situation,
Yes.
where they saw that happen and just
Yeah,
did
actually
nothing
spot
about
on with that. Just, I don't know all the details about it, but all I know is that it was really fucked, and I wasn't even expecting that one.
Damn.
Yeah, I mean, this dude was younger than me. There were, however, 2 people and a third possible one that could be to blame for it. I'm not going to say their name, but they were doing coke with him around the time. And one of the guys that was hanging around with him was also a known dealer / middleman and user. He kind of vanished and moved away, but I don't know what his situation is now. I never really talked to the guy. I knew him because it's the area that we grew up in. We knew these people. And then they had this little fucking kid. And not even a little kid. I mean, he was 12, 13 years old. And he was running around like he was this like tough shit little gangster kid, right?
Okay.
And he had his own little crappy street name and shit. And he was hanging down in a specific part. And he confronted me and one of my other friends while we were riding our bikes. And we got into his face because he was trying to act all tough and shit. So we got off our bikes. We were like, what? And the next thing you know, there's like 5 or 6 of them like surrounding us. And they're still not doing anything. And next thing you know, one of them walks up and is like, yo, come on, I got it. And then they all just like fucking fiends just turn just like, drugs. And fucking fuck off to the woods. Yeah, just like imagine like a hunched over, just like, type thing. And they just like fuck off to the woods. I'm not kidding.
Well done.
Yeah.
What an interesting roaming packs of young children as drug fiends.
Yeah, and unfortunately, little Dandy was part of that. And those people that are suspected of being part of that, of helping him get into that lifestyle, and just leaving him there, were with him at the time. And those were the people that he called friends.
All they care about at certain times is just the drug, just the high.
Now, there's one last one. And this is from somebody that I was really close to as a kid. And through time and situations, we just grew apart. Unfortunately, it all started around the time that I got the Echo virus and was diagnosed as a diabetic.
Okay.
You were around seeing how everybody else was treating me, like, because I was different.
Yeah.
And shit. He was kind of like, he didn't know what to do or say, so he was just kind of like, he stood back, didn't defend me, but also didn't instigate anything. So I never really thought about it. But now thinking back on it, like that was the verge of our friendship.
Okay.
But we grew up together. It was me, this one kid, and another blonde kid. And I don't know what happened to the blonde kid. I'm still trying to find him.
Let's say Charlie and Roger.
Charlie and Roger. Charlie's the blonde kid?
Sure.
Okay, Charlie's the blonde kid, and Roger. Roger, unfortunately, got heavily into drugs. What I'm going to read off here in a minute is all information that was posted up. It's public information, but I'm not going to say his name.
Okay.
He was arrested after driving a car while intoxicated and ended up killing a 65-year-old woman. This was back in 2014, and he apparently admitted to snorting heroin at a friend's house right before this incident. At the scene, police found a burnt spoon with heroin residue on it, a pouch of heroin in his pocket, and 2 more pouches in his shoe or sock. Upon a urine test, he was found to have heroin, cocaine, marijuana, Valium, and Xanax in his system. This was all following the crash. He also hadn't drove legally for almost 4 years. And around that time that he had gotten the license taken away, he also had a DUI and had a blood alcohol content of 0.186.
Shit. That is insane.
Yeah, he's doing 11 years. And they said he must serve at least 85% of that. Now, this is all public information. I'm not giving away any detailed information that it's not public knowledge, but I'm just not going to say his name.
Yeah,
it's just the information that you need. You just need to know not to do these type of things.
Yep.
It'll save your life, it'll save other people's lives, and everything will be richer. And hopefully this deters some of you from doing the unthinkable and delving further into this type of lifestyle. And if you are thinking about doing that, before you do that, watch Requiem for a Dream.
That movie is fucked up.
That to me is a horror story. That put me in a really fucking weird place.
Yeah, it definitely did kind of give me the look of, like, heroin does not sound or look appealing at all. Seems like it's might be great for a little bit, but not great in the long run.
The injection scenes and everything, like, it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
It helps that the only needles I like are tattoo needles. It helps. It helps that any other needles kind of always freaked me out.
Well, I mean, same, but then I became a diabetic and it was like, oh, well, fuck.
Time to get over this.
Yeah, right? It's like, well, push comes to shove. But if you or someone you know is struggling with an addiction, please contact the Addiction Center at 866-432-9870. The calls are free and confidential. Remember, there's always a way to come back.
Yeah, we kind of went really serious on this episode. Really heavy topic, but, you know, it's necessary. All too much and all too often, you know, people are dying left and right from this shit.
Yeah.
And
a lot of people we know, and, you know, the world's a small place. Eventually, you'll hear about it. Hopefully not, but it's likely that this shit is spreading.
Yeah.
You know, like, it started as like a whisper and then became a shout. And no one ever in our area even thought that this shit would start happening again. And it just had a fucking resurgence. I'm done depressing all of you. You guys go over and watch some of our other funnier episodes.
Yeah, we'll take it really lighthearted. But if you also like spooky stuff, you can head over to our Facebook page, because we did just recently do a couple different investigations into allegedly haunted houses.
Yeah, allegedly haunted.
Until the information is reviewed, I'm going to keep using that word.
But if you'd like more answers, more soon than we would be putting out, you can go on over there and watch some of those. And if you see anything out of the ordinary or hear anything out of the ordinary, jot down those times, because we'll be looking. And if you find something, you will definitely get a credit.
Hell yeah.
So until then, go to facebook.com/Witches Hill Radio, and we'll see you next Wednesday at 6.
Yeah, like, subscribe, follow, click that bell, stay notified.
Oh, and if you want to see anything from behind the scenes, go on Instagram at Let's Talk Horror.
Later, people. Peace.
Witches Hill.